I strongly oppose David Chipman's nomination to serve as the director of ATF for many reasons, almost too many reasons here to name them individually, so I'll attempt to focus on my top few concerns. In response to questions at his confirmation hearing before this committee, Mr. Chipman said he was a cop, not a lawyer. This statement is troubling not only because Mr. Chipman was using it to dodge legitimate questions, but also because in making it, he willfully ignores that the focus of the ATF director's position is to accurately interpret and apply the laws Congress writes for the regulation of the firearms industry. I'm not saying that it takes a lawyer to do that, but it certainly takes someone who recognizes the impact of regulatory decisions. I'm concerned that Mr. Chipman used that cute line to persuade us that his advocacy background is less troubling than it might otherwise appear to be. Based on Mr. Chipman's bombastic and often inaccurate statements made while working as a lobbyist for two major anti-gun groups, Giffords and Everytown, I have strong concerns about his ability to set aside his personal views, to work with the firearms industry and with law-abiding gun owners to effectively run ATF. For example, just last year, Mr. Chipman made a statement openly mocking first-time gun owners. He compared them to the Tiger King, a popular reality TV star who exhibited questionable judgment in relation to firearms and also large endangered megafauna. He also then advised them to hide their newly purchased firearms behind the cans of tuna and beef jerky they have stored in a cabinet and only bring them out if the zombies start to appear. That's a direct quote. Now, when I asked Mr. Chipman about this troubling statement in his television interview, he attempted to say that the statement was misunderstood and that it was taken out of context. That's simply not true. I watched the TV interview, hoping and frankly expecting that I had misunderstood his condescension toward first-time gun owners in 2020. Many of those first-time gun owners in 2020, by the way, were minorities and women. But unfortunately, that was not the case. When I watched it to get the context, that was the context. That's exactly what he had said. There was no taking it out of context. That was the entire context. When asked about inaccurate statements he made when lobbying against suppressors, namely that only gun lobbyists and criminals, this is an exact quote, only gun lobbyists and criminals who want to kill people would benefit, close quote, from the deregulation of gun suppressors. Again, when asked about this question, he dodged the question. Mr. Chipman refused to recognize that many lawful gun owners want to purchase suppressors to protect their hearing, which is a lawful purpose last time I checked, but find the burdensome NFA registration process and the $200 tax stamp on top of the cost of the suppressor to be something that is prohibitive. When pressed by multiple senators on his advocacy for an assault weapons ban on AR-15s, Mr. Chipman proved equally evasive, refusing to provide his definition of an assault weapon. Now, has he suddenly forgotten the policies he's advocated for over the last 5 years? I highly doubt it. It's much more likely that he wanted to obscure his true anti-gun views from the American people. The only straight answer he gave was that he supports a ban on not just the manufacture and sale of AR-15 rifles, the most popular rifles in America, but even the possession of AR-15 rifles unless registered under the NFA. That means he wants to make the millions of law-abiding Americans who currently own AR-15 rifles go through the burdensome process of registering them with the ATF, the organization he now wants to head. I asked Mr. Chipman about the following troubling statement he posted on Reddit. Quote, "While at ATF, I conducted studies involving to determine how many later committed crimes with a gun. Many did. This is a perfect opportunity to arrest people before committing crimes rather than responding after the fact, close quote. That is a direct quote. He actually said that. Now, my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, I would ask you, regardless of which political party you belong to, imagine that if a president of either political party said that for any other nomination, particularly if it was a president of the opposite political party to which you belong. If somebody who had been nominated to head an important law enforcement agency within the federal government had said that, you'd find it troubling. I have no doubt that you would, because we don't arrest people before they commit crimes. That's the sort of thing that's reserved for bad post-apocalyptic dystopian novels and movies. Now, in this instance, Mr. Chipman attempted to say that the statement was taken out of context and that he was referring only to those people who had committed the predicate crime of, quote-unquote, lying and trying. But this answer was unconvincing. Setting aside the serious Second Amendment concerns with this statement, completely setting those aside, confirming someone to lead a federal law enforcement agency with this lack of respect for the most fundamental notions of due process, who makes statements that sound like they came out of the movie Minority Report, is appalling and incredibly concerning to the millions of law-abiding gun owners in America. For these reasons and many, many others, I strongly oppose the nomination of David Chipman to be the director of ATF.
Thank you, Senator Lee. Senator Feinstein.
Thank you very much.